Due to the kind of the angle, you couldn't see the defendant's face straight on from that angle. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
In the video. So, based on your observation sitting across from him, how would you describe his eye contact with you?
He made eye contact. He maintained eye contact with me throughout the interview.
Even when you asked him about some of the more graphic sexual things?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
There'd be times he would look down, but then again look back up and continue on.
No other questions?
Thank you. Any cross-examination?
Yes, Judge. Officer Mahoney, are you aware of any autism protocol at the Greene County Sheriff's Department?
No, sir.
Is that a no?
No, sir.
Have you had any training in autism or how to handle suspects who may be on the autism spectrum?
No, sir.
Do you have any general mental health training?
Yes, sir. I do have some that were mandated to take through the sheriff's office.
And have you taken any classes on how to interrogate suspects who may be mentally ill or have disabilities?
It depends on the disability. If they're deaf, we can get like a sign, someone in to sign. If they can't talk, we could have them write and things like that.
Okay. Now, you mentioned you'd been trained in the Reed method of interrogation.
Yes, sir.
And when was that?
I'm not sure the exact year. Estimate would be in 2007.
And how long is that training in hours?
The class was 4 days, and we went 8 hours each day.
So that'd be 32 hours?
Yes, sir.
Thereabouts? And do you receive some sort of certificate when you complete the Reed technique of interrogation?
I'm not sure.
Did you receive one?
I don't recall if I did or not.
Have you ever read the Reed interrogation manual?
I went through the process in the training that I went to. Yes,
And so it's part of the training.
Yes, sir. They provide you a book.
Okay. And prior to this interview, you had quite a bit of information about this case. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You knew what had happened to Dee Dee Blanchard?
Yes, sir.
And you knew about the Facebook post?
Yes, sir.
You knew about the arrest of both Mr. Godejohn and Ms. Blanchard?
Yes, sir.
You knew about the knife?
Yes, sir.
Did you know that he was on the autism spectrum?
No, sir.
Had you received any kind of information that he was on the autism spectrum?
No, sir.
Now, this particular interview took place right after midnight, correct?
Yes, sir.
And it lasted about an hour and a half?
Yes, sir.
He told you he was tired,
Yes, sir.
and he seemed tired to you, is that correct?
At times when he would say he was tired, he did appear that he might be tired.
Did that cause you to question whether you should continue to question him, given the fact that he was tired and it was after midnight?
No, sir. Being tired is not a deal breaker on an interview.
Okay. Matter of fact, interviewing in the middle of the night isn't terribly uncommon, is it?
That's correct, sir.
Is there a reason that you like to interview people late at night?
I have no preference of any time of day.
He also told you he was a little bit loopy.
He did.
And you Mirandized him.
Yes, sir.
I think State's Exhibit 150 is the Miranda form itself, correct?
I don't recall the number.
Okay,
exactly.
it was,
Yes,
you
sir.
remember him showing you the Miranda form?
Yes, sir.
I believe that's State's Exhibit number 150, and that's a standard form put out by the Greene County Sheriff's Department.
Yes, sir.
And is there a Sheriff's Department policy regarding Mirandizing a special needs person?
Not that I'm aware of.
So you treat everybody the same, assuming they speak the English language, is that correct?
Some people require a little extra assistance getting through a Miranda form. Sometimes you'll have somebody that can't read. You have to help them with that. So if there is a need and it's recognizable, we do try to address that.
And there is no specialized Miranda form with someone who's on the autism spectrum, is that correct?
Not that I'm aware of.
Were you aware Had you been provided information by his family about him?
No, I had not.
Did you talk to his family?
I did talk to his mother, but that was following my interview.
Now, during the Miranda questions, which is at that point just asking if he knowingly agrees to talk to you and knowingly waives his right to counsel, he became confused, did he not?
I'm not sure.
Was he confused about the word coercion?
Yes.
Okay. He didn't know what it meant, did he?
Well, he did. He said it meant punishment.
And you told him it meant trickery, did you?
I agreed with him on the punishment. I just said, yeah, under the assumption that that was some kind of threats or punishment or physical threats against him. But then I did add the trickery.
And how does the read technique teach you to handle people who don't understand the Miranda form?
I'm not sure how they instruct you to do that.
Now, at one point, you told him that Gypsy had told you the truth.
Yes, sir.
Was that accurate on your part?
No, Gypsy had never told me the truth.
Okay. So when you told him that Gypsy had told the truth, that was a lie. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And that was a deliberate lie on your part.
Yes, sir.
And is that part of the read technique?
The read's more of a theme. It's a theme-based interview where you try to find things to guide the person, things of interest or things that they find interesting to gain the confession or the information. So I don't personally follow the read procedure step by step. It's just not my style of interviewing, but I have been through that school.
Does the read technique of interrogation permit lying to suspects?
I do not know.
Now, he cooperated with you.
Yes, sir.
He actually answered all your questions.
Yes, sir.
And one of the first things he said to you was, what about Gypsy? I think he said he wants to know what's going on with Gypsy. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And he told you he was worried sick about Gypsy.
Yes, sir.
You told him that if he loved Gypsy, he would tell the truth. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is that part of the read technique?
No, sir.
He told you that he met Gypsy at the ChristianDatingForFree.com website. Is that correct?
What was that? How did you say that again, sir?
ChristianDatingForFree.com?
Yes, sir.
And did you already know that?
I may have.
And then at one point he tells you this story that Gypsy had been kicked out of her mother's home and that he had run into her, correct? Isn't that basically what he told you initially?
Yes, yes, sir.
And you told him you didn't believe that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's when you told him that Gypsy had told the truth,
Yes, sir.
which of course she hadn't done. Is that correct?
Not to me, sir.
He then told you he killed her mother because Gypsy asked him to do it. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now you mentioned to him, you started talking to him about you having been involved in stabbing cases. How many stabbing cases had you been involved in up to that point?
No stabbing cases where anyone has died as a result of the stabbing.
Okay, how many stabbing cases where somebody didn't die?
Maybe 3 or 4 to give an estimate.
So certainly not very many.
Yes, sir.
And what was your position with the Sheriff's Department in June of 2015?
I was a detective.
Okay, and what was your role?
I was an investigator.
And what do you do now?
I work at transport and extradition.
He told you that he believed killing her mother was the only way that he could be with Gypsy. Correct?
Yes, sir.
And he said he only wanted her to be safe.
I'm not sure if that's what he said or not. I don't recall.
He told you he worshipped her and that there wasn't anything he wouldn't do for her.
Correct.
And you mentioned that he learned a lot about her mother. Is that correct?
After the murder, yes.
And at one point you told him not to lie because Gypsy could get in more trouble for something he lied about. Is that correct?
I'm not sure if that's exact words I used.
Do you remember that conversation?
Yes, sir.
He told you that she provided the knife.
Yes, sir.
You had an extensive discussion with him about sex. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Both his sexual practices with Gypsy and just other aspects of sex. Is that correct?
With regards to Dee and Gypsy. And if he had ever had sex with dead bodies.
And he told you sex with dead people would be quite disturbing.
Yes, sir.
He told you that Gypsy felt trapped in a wheelchair. Correct?
I'm
You
not
remember
sure
that?
the exact words of that, but he did say that she was in a wheelchair.
And he said he had actually encouraged her to walk.
Yes, sir.
He told you her mother wanted her to pretend to be 16 years old.
Yes, sir.
And he talked about having multiple personalities. Correct?
Yes, sir.
And hearing voices.
He had heard voices, I believe, in the past, but those had since stopped.
And then he talked about Gypsy mail in the package.
Yes, sir.
And the package is where the knife was.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever see the package?
Yes, sir.
And the package was mailed from Gypsy's house to the house he lived in Wisconsin. Is that correct?
No, sir. The package was mailed from a post office in Springfield, Missouri to Nicholas's house.
Okay, let me rephrase it, because that is correct. The package was mailed with a return address of Gypsy's address to Wisconsin. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Just one second. That's all the questions I could judge of this witness.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Just a couple questions.
Sir?
Corporal, you were asked about whether or not you were aware of any kind of autism that the defendant had. You remember being asked that.
Yes, sir.
At any time during your interview with the defendant, did you have any impression or did you suspect that he had any kind of mental condition like that?
I did not.
Also, when you were going over the form, he did have some trouble with the word coercion.
Yes, sir.
You've given a lot of interviews in your career, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is the defendant the first person to have problems with the word coercion on the Miranda form?
Absolutely not.
And you also mentioned that a lot of your interviews take place in the middle of the night. Do you recall that?
Interviews do occur in the middle of the night.
And is that generally because crimes occur late at night or in the middle of the night?
They do,
And then you try to interview them as
as soon
quickly
as
as you can?
possible. Yes, sir.
And you mentioned that some of the things that you said to the defendant were lies. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
And are you allowed to do that in
Yes, sir.
interviews?
Yes, sir.
And you said that your answer to one of the questions was that Gypsy had not told the entire truth to you. What did you mean by that?
She was interviewed by Detective Hancock, and she told a lot of information to him. But a lot of the information I had from my interview with Nicholas, but she didn't actually tell me those things.
You didn't have the interview with her.
Correct.
And then lastly, Mr. Perry brought up that during the interview, the defendant says that he learned about Gypsy's mother after the murder. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
And he actually said he found out she was a good person after that.
Yes, sir.
I don't have any other questions.
Need redirect? Thank you, Cross. May this witness be excused?
On behalf of the state, yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Do you have another witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
The state calls Joseph Fletcher.
All right. seat. It's a little tricky there. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in the cause shall have been for the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thanks. Can you please state your name?
Joseph Fletcher.
What is your current occupation?
I'm a detective with the Greene County Sheriff's Office.
What unit are you currently in?
I'm currently assigned as a task force officer in the Southwest Missouri Cyber Crimes Task Force, which investigates internet crimes against children, and a task force officer with Homeland Security investigations as well. As far as with the Sheriff's Office, it would be crimes against persons that I investigate.
How long have you been a detective with the Sheriff's Office?
Approximately 5 years.
And prior to being a detective, did you work for the Sheriff's Office in other capacities?
Yes.
What were some of the other capacities you worked in?
I've worked in the Corrections Division and also the Patrol Division.
How many total years have you been in law enforcement?
13.
Detective, I'd like to call your attention to June 14th of 2015. Were you working on that day?
No, I wasn't.
But at some point, did you begin working on that day?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And was that into a case involving the death of Dee Dee Blanchard?
Yes.
And how did you initially get called in?
I was contacted by a supervisor and asked to respond into the office to assist in the investigation, and was assigned to research a Facebook post that had been made on the account of Claudine Blanchard.
And as part of that task, did you attempt to get records from Facebook?
Yes.
And how do you, as a law enforcement officer, how do you request records from Facebook?
You have to have a search warrant or subpoena, depending on what records you're going to request, and then Facebook has an electronic portal for law enforcement to where you can upload your requests to them, and then they respond through the portal as well. So when the records are completed by Facebook, you log into the portal and are able to download those records.
Now, how many Facebook accounts were you trying to get records for?
Initially, it was just for the one account that the postings had been on June 14th, but later in the investigation, I requested records for several accounts.
And were any of those accounts associated with Nicholas Godejohn?
Yes.
And were any associated with Gypsy Blanchard?
Yes.
How did you know to search for those specific accounts?
It was through interviews in the investigation from other detectives. They'd received information that Godejohn and Gypsy had used different Facebook accounts to communicate with each other.
Now, did you go ahead and, I think you mentioned that you have to have a search warrant. When you requested all those different accounts for the defendant and Gypsy Blanchard, did you do that through a search warrant?
Yes.
Then did you receive a response from Facebook?
Yes, I did.
Did they have records for every single account you requested?
No.
Why not?
Some of the accounts had been deleted prior to a preservation request being put into Facebook for those accounts. In that case, Facebook would not be able to provide the records. And then some accounts that I requested were based off of email addresses that we'd learned either Godejohn or Gypsy had used, and Facebook responded that there were no Facebook accounts active that used those specific email addresses.
Of the records that you did get, were any associated with Nicholas Godejohn?
Yes.
And what was the name on the Facebook account that was associated with Nicholas Godejohn?
Nicholas Godejohn.
did you review, or how did Facebook send you those records? Like what format were they in?
They sent me an email saying that the records were ready to be viewed in the portal. So I logged into the portal and downloaded a PDF version of those records that contained everything they provided for that account.
And did you review all the records that you were given on the Nicholas Godejohn account?
Yes, I did.
And approximately how many pages were there to review?
It was approximately 4,100 pages for that account.
And given that there are, let me first ask, as a detective, and you even mentioned cyber crimes, are you familiar with Facebook?
Yes, I am.
And what are the different types of activity that are contained on Facebook records that you get?
It'll generally show subscriber information, which will include the name that the person uses to sign up for an account with Facebook, an email address that they've used to sign up for an account with Facebook, an initial IP or Internet Protocol address that they logged in with for that first activity that happens in the Facebook account. It'll then show recent logins, giving those IP addresses for the recent logins. It'll show a list of friends that people have with the Facebook account. It'll also show timeline activity or the main page of Facebook for people, anything that they post, any pictures that they post, comments that come along with those posts. And then it gets into private messages between the account user and other Facebook account users.
And how does that Facebook messaging work? You mentioned private messages. How does that work?
Whereas on the timeline, if you post something to the timeline, anyone that's friends with that account is able to view that activity. A private message is sent between one account user and another account user, unless it's a group message using the private messaging thing, in which case it would be whoever's involved in the group message can see those messages.
And to jump back for just a second, you mentioned things on the timeline. Based on your review of all of the records, were you ever able to figure out which account those initial Facebook posts that got neighbors and everyone alerted, what account that came from?
Which account it was posted to, or?
Which account it originated from?
Yes, there was, it originated on the Dee Dee Blanchard Facebook account, but as part of those records that were provided from Facebook for that specific account, it showed recent IP activity for logins, and on the 14th there was an IP address that had logged in numerous times on that day, and when I received the records back for that IP address, it was Time Warner cable internet connection that was registered to Nicholas Godejohn in Waukesha, Wisconsin.
And so based on your review of those records, could you determine what city those were coming from?
Yes.
And what was that?
That was, I believe, Waukesha, Wisconsin.
And going back to the Nicholas Godejohn Facebook account, starting with, could you see whether or not there were any private messages made between the defendant and Gypsy Blanchard?
There was a showing in the records where there had been an exchange of messages between Godejohn and Gypsy Blanchard. However, those messages had been deleted prior to the request for the records, and the content of the messages was not present in the records.
Were you able to see the content of messages between the defendant and other people?
Yes.
And did any of those messages relate to Claudine Blanchard and her eventual murder?
Yes, they did.
approach, Your Honor. Detective, I'm going to show you what I've marked as State's Exhibit 147. Do you recognize what this is?
This is a disc containing an excerpt from the Facebook account, Nicholas Godejohn.
And how many separate conversations are on this disc?
3 separate conversations with 2 individuals.
And have you compared the conversations on this disc with the 4,000-page official report you got from Facebook?
Yes, I have.
And are the 3 messages contained on Exhibit 147 fair and accurate of those that came from the official 4,000-page report from Facebook?
Yes.
Your Honor, the State would seek to admit State's Exhibit 147.
Your Honor, we would object at this time.
Basis.
Your Honor, can we make a record outside of the report?
Let's go ahead and you got it set up.
Yes.
So the exhibit we're talking about, we have 146, and then 147 and 148, is that correct?
This exhibit that the State just sought to admit is just State's Exhibit 147.
147, that's only the CD.
Yes, sir.
I'll show that admitted under objection.
And may this exhibit be published, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
May I move the TV?
Oh, yes, yes.
Now, Detective, you had mentioned that there are 3 separate conversations with 2 individuals, is that right?
Yes.
And who are the individuals that the conversations are with?
2 of the conversations are between Nicholas Godejohn's account and Allie Noble's account. And then the other one is between Nicholas Godejohn's account and an account named Beth Dextrous.
In regard to Allie Noble, in addition to the conversation that we have in this exhibit, did you also review Nicholas Godejohn and Allie Noble?
Yes.
And just based on that, were you able to tell what type of relationship it was they had?
Yes.
And what was that?
They called each other bro and sis, or brother and sister, and appeared to be friends, and reading the conversation between them.
And in regard to Beth Dextrous, did you review all of the conversations between Nicholas Godejohn and Beth Dextrous?
Yes.
And from that, were you able to tell what the nature of their relationship was?
Yes.
And what is that?
It appeared that they had previously been in a relationship but had broken up.
Now, you had seen this exhibit, is that right?
Yes.
And fair to say that when the content is coming from Nicholas Godejohn, it's surrounded by blue boxes, and when the recipient is talking, it's surrounded by pink boxes.
Yes.
So then beginning with this message here, May 16th of 2014, can you just read through this conversation for us?
Yes. It says, "Oh, okay, well, did you get my text? Yeah, I did. Have a good time. Oh, you got that one, but I sent another one after that, sis. I forwarded it to you again. Okay, who changed their mind? I'm really confused now, LOL. Gypsy did. Okay, about killing her mom. Yes, she said she wants to see how our original plan goes first with me meeting her and her mom and such. And I guess she said she wanted to only do it as a last resort, sis. So I guess I'll be meeting her and her mom still first before that idea was to ever happen. Okay. Yeah, sis, I have to ask you something. How crazy do you think Gypsy is? You won't hurt my feelings or anything. I really want to know, though, since I just obviously can tell she is. I just can't seem to put into words how crazy I think she is. Well, IDK how to put it into words either, but I'll be honest, I would not ever kill my mom or anyone else unless they tried to kill me first. Yeah, I know, I suppose situation my mom, even though she has been hard on me, overall, she has been a very good mother to me, so I couldn't ever do it to her. And the only reason I can understand it with her mom is because how unreasonably poor her mom treats her, but since it is a last resort thing, who knows, maybe it won't even have to happen. I suppose. Yeah, like I said, I'm different.
Sorry, let me interrupt you. I went a little too far. So, does that appear to be the end of this conversation between Nicholas Godejohn and Allie Ray Noble?
Yes.
And again, what date is this conversation taking place?
May 16th of 2014.
Now moving on to the second conversation, the one with Nicholas Godejohn and Beth Dextrous. If you could please read through this conversation.
Yeah, like I said, I'm different, and actually you didn't see a side of me that the woman I am with now knows about, and it still didn't scare her off. It's called true love, Laura. I have that now. You have no idea what I've been through with my husband, and it was a lot worse than what I went through with you, and I'm still here by his side. Yeah, well, me and the one I am with are defying the laws of nature to stay together. It is as bad as can be. I won't tell you what I'll have to do to stay with her, but I'll do it if it means keeping her. Actually, Nick, I'm in the same boat. People have threatened to kill me, my husband, and my daughter for me to leave him, and I still haven't. There are demons in this world that are destined to keep me and him apart, but I'm not letting them tear us apart. Oh, I see. Well, you don't understand how bad it really is for me. I mean, you may know a nugget of it, but not the full thing. Sorry, I can't share it. It must stay between me and her. This is the same between me and him. If I even think of telling someone my life is on the line, I could be killed any day now. Well, someone else's life is on the line, and that is all I can say. Sorry. You don't think I know how it is, but I do. I got into a whole other world in life that knew nothing about until I met him. Believe me, Laura, you don't know what I'm talking about. Just keep it at that. I can't say anymore. I'm not asking you to say anymore. I know what you're talking about. Tell me then if you were so confident in that you know. What completely different from what I'm experiencing and will have to deal with soon. See, you don't know what I'm talking about, but if it must stay between me and her, I guess it has to. Completely different? What could be worse than the Chaos Dragon and the rulers of the spirit world afterlife threatening to kill her whole family for staying with one person? I have ghosts haunting me, possessing Tim, have him try to kill me. Well, you are in a whole different dilemma than me, but once I do what I must, I'll have to disappear from a place on earth possibly for the rest of my life. we were the same way when I joined the coven. Well, the one I am with is aware of that stuff too, but I can't say any more, so I'm shutting up about what me and her must do in the future. I have to do things I hate, terrible things that I hate just to keep him. I would be surprised if you were in the exact same spot as me. You would be surprised. Nick, I have to have sex with Tim in ways I hate in order to keep him. I make deals with the devil and have to do as he says, otherwise I lose. Wow, and just think if we would have been together, you wouldn't have went down that path. The one I am with is aware of those things. However, I will have to do the unthinkable just to keep me and her safe. And I must say, please never come around me. It's that I worry for the sake of him, not you. I wouldn't ever hurt you, even to this day, but what he sounds like he is putting you through, it makes me sad, even though it does. I can't open up about my situation, even if I wanted to. In truth, I do, but I can't, as you know me, being a Taurus, the most loyal sign in the zodiac. If I say anything, I would betray myself as much as I would betray her, and I can't do that to her. But I'll let you know, I hope you stay safe, even if you have to do things that are BDSM related.
And the last conversation, who is this? This last conversation, when does that take place?
This one takes place June 9th of 2015.
And actually, in case I missed it, when was this previous conversation we just heard between Nicholas Godejohn and Beth Dextrous?
That one was April 22nd, 2015.
All right. So this final, if you could walk us through this final conversation between Nicholas Godejohn and Allie Ray Noble on June 9th, 2015.
Hey bro, how are you? I'm alright, hoping to see Gypsy tonight. Oh, thought you were going to get her. I am, sis, but it takes time though. Are you at home right now? No, I'm in a hotel in Springfield. I just got to get her. It will be early in the morning when I do, sis. Is her mom all cool with everything at this point? No, not really, because, well, she almost got kicked out of her mom's house. She only saved it because she still hasn't gotten done packing up her things, sis. Since honestly, her relationship with her mom seems broken, since I guess those two argue every day. How does she plan to get out of the house to go home with you? Well, you already know of her secret. She doesn't need her chair. She can walk, so she'll probably just either sneak out or something like that. Oh, I see. Yep, however, if all else gets worse, interesting. Just as life is meant to be interesting. That is true.
I don't have any further questions.
Mr. Meade, Mr. Perry?
Judge, we don't have any questions.
Made this witness, please speak.
Yes, on behalf of the state.
Officer, thank you. Do you have another witness, or is this a good time to adjourn for the evening?
This is a good time to adjourn for the evening, Your Honor.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to stop for the night. I want to again remind you of what you were told at the first recess of the court. Until you retire to consider your verdict, you must not discuss this case among yourselves or with others, or permit anyone to discuss it in your hearing. You should not form or express any given to you to decide. Do not do any research or investigation on your own about any matter regarding this case or anyone involved with the trial. Do not communicate with others about the case by any means. Do not read, view, or listen to any newspaper, radio, electronic communication from the internet, or television report of the trial. So with that, I'll see you all tomorrow downstairs, 9:15 in the morning. Does that work for everyone? All right, see you then. Thank you.
All rise.
just real briefly here. So if we resume at 9:15 tomorrow, does the state think we'll be concluding tomorrow, or?
Yes, sir.
All right. In time for the defense to put on evidence, or?
I anticipate maybe a time to put on one witness tomorrow.
All right. Well, we'll just play it by ear. Play it by ear. Any other issues that need to be addressed?
I don't think so.
Yes. All right, thank you. See y'all at 9:15 tomorrow morning. Thank you. Ms. Perry, if you want to leave your stuff in this room, it's locked up.
Well, I think I'll take this stuff home with me for tonight. I'm gonna leave that box there. If it's all right.